It's been both a special year for flagships and yet an unexciting one. On the one hand, we can see that all the flagship smartphones have become so refined that they're all nearly perfect, but on the other hand, flagships are facing the heat from cheaper phones which are almost as good and more expensive foldable phones which are way more futuristic. Well, the two most prominent flagships of this year are the OnePlus 8 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S20, and today let's compare them. I'm Rohan from TechieTechTech and here we go. When you hold the Galaxy S20 Plus in one hand and the OnePlus 8 Pro in the other, the first very obvious difference that you can tell is that the OnePlus 8 Pro feels heavier and larger compared to the S20 Plus. When we zoom in to the actual build quality, there are a ton of differences. Both phones are metal and glass sandwiches, but the Galaxy S20 Plus has a glossy glass back with a glossy aluminum frame compared to the OnePlus 8 Pro, which has a somewhat satin texture on the back glass paired with matte finish on the aluminum frame. The Galaxy S20's camera bump is much smaller and low-key compared to the giant camera bump on the OnePlus 8 Pro. While the glossy back on the S20 Plus is more catchy and more attention-drawing, the satin back is more discreet and understated. It's all personal preference at the end of the day. When you flip over to the display, a radical difference to approach can be seen. Both these phones' predecessors, which are the Galaxy S10 and the OnePlus 7 Pro, had curved displays and the extent to the curve was roughly the same. This year, Samsung and OnePlus went in the opposite directions. While the S20 has flattened the curve on the front glass, OnePlus increased the curve and the waterfall effect on the display. And in this scenario, Samsung clearly wins. The S20's display has the visual appeal that comes with a curved display and yet the practicality that comes with a flat display. The OnePlus 8 Pro, on the other hand, gets a lot of accidental touches and even glare on both the edges. The extra curve also makes it harder to grip the phone one-handed. So even though both these phones feel as premium as flagships have ever felt, I have to give this round to Samsung for the excellent display strategy which has led to a more ergonomic design. Since we are done talking about the curved glass, let's talk about the actual quality of the display panel. Both phones have a 120Hz panel with roughly the same QHD resolution. Both the displays are beautiful. Traditionally, Samsung has been the undisputed leader when it comes to display technology, and for good reason. The display on the Galaxy S20 Plus is one of the best I have ever used, with larger than life colors, excellent saturation and true vibrance. But that doesn't mean that the OnePlus 8 Pro's display is a slouch. Not at all. The OnePlus 8 Pro actually has the advantage of being able to run the display at QHD resolution with 120Hz refresh rate, while on the Galaxy, you can either choose between 120Hz plus Full HD or 60Hz plus QHD. I personally would have used 120Hz plus Full HD for better battery life anyway, but to not have that option at such an expensive price point is definitely a negative point on Samsung's side. OnePlus would have managed to ace out and finally defeat Samsung at the display game, but then it messed up. It messed up really bad. See, the OnePlus 8 Pro's display has received widespread outcry from a number of users who have reported issues ranging from black crush to green tint and whatnot. We made a detailed analysis video all about it if you want to check it out, but long story short, the OnePlus 8 Pro does tend to have some display issues, and even though they are not bad enough to ruin your whole smartphone experience, they are bad enough to make you notice them from time to time. Moving on to the performance, this is quite weirdly a location specific comparison. Because in the Galaxy S20's case, some regions around the world get a better CPU, which is the Snapdragon 865, while the rest of the world gets Samsung's in-house Exynos 990 CPU, which is proven to be inferior in pretty much every way. The OnePlus 8 Pro comes with the Snapdragon 865 irrespective of your geo coordinates. Again, this can be a long drawn out argument in itself, so we'll cut it short. The Snapdragon Galaxy S20 is better in a lot of ways in areas like gaming performance, overheating, efficiency, throttling, battery life, etc. I would have loved to say that the difference between the Exynos and the Snapdragon doesn't matter if you're not a power user, but that would be a lie since every user wants better battery life and a phone which runs cooler. So if you can get the Snapdragon version of the Galaxy S20, great. But if you're comparing the Exynos S20 which I have here to the OnePlus 8 Pro in terms of performance, the winner cannot be more obvious. It's the OnePlus 8 Pro. Let's talk about the software experience now. If you asked me a couple of years ago to choose between OxygenOS and Samsung's UI, I would have picked OxygenOS in a heartbeat. But with OneUI, Samsung's software experience has improved so much that I actually look forward to reviewing Samsung phones now. OneUI is smooth, extremely well put together and feature loaded to the point where it seems Samsung is basically pushing innovation in the Android software experience now. Features like the split screen multitasking and many more made their way to Samsung phones way before they were adopted by Google in stock Android. Of course, OneUI is still not perfect. You still have a lot of bloatware with Samsung providing an alternative service to every Google service like Samsung Bixby for Google Assistant, Galaxy Store for the Play Store and Samsung Browser for Chrome. But all in all, Samsung's software experience used to be this messy collection of uncooked features, and to see it all grow into something as mature and such a pleasure to use as OneUI is truly commendable. Let's talk about OxygenOS now. See, OxygenOS is all about speed. Be it app opening times or the general UI animations, OxygenOS paces through everything and is by far the fastest feeling Android skin to date. The whole experience is very close to the look and feel of stock Android, which is my favorite thing about it. OxygenOS to me is the combination of stock Android with some speed enhancing steroids and a variety of customization options. Of course, OxygenOS 11 is going to change all that when it launches, but until that arrives, I can tell you that if you're looking for a somewhat light and fast Android experience, pick the OnePlus 8 Pro, while if you're looking for the most loaded, feature-rich and a somewhat more mature looking Android experience, maybe pick the Galaxy S20 Plus. Let's talk about the cameras now. In terms of optics, both smartphones sport a quad camera setup on the rear. Apart from the standard trio of the primary, wide angle and telephoto shooters, the S20 Plus has a 0.3 megapixel depth sensor and the OnePlus 8 Pro has a 5 megapixel filter camera. As mentioned in the OnePlus 8 Pro review, OnePlus has taken a significant jump in camera hardware and software. Let's find out how it performs against the already excellent Samsung S20 Plus. We'll talk about the photos first and then move on to the videos. The primary camera on both the flagships deliver excellent performance both indoors and outdoors. The S20 Plus tends to produce pictures with rich colors and high dynamic range, while the OnePlus 8 Pro delivers sharper and somewhat contrasty pictures. Both the devices are really good at exposing stills. While the S20 Plus is good at handling the shadows and noise processing, the 8 Pro manages the highlights very well without overexposing. Moving to the telephoto lens performance, the OnePlus 8 Pro shoots stills which are sharper with much more details. However, the S20 Plus takes pictures that are more color accurate with much better noise processing. The S20 Plus has a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and the OnePlus 8 Pro has a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera setup. While the OnePlus 8 Pro certainly has the advantage of a higher resolution sensor, the S20 Plus has a wider field of view and a larger pixel size which produces brighter stills that are color accurate and pleasing to the eye. The S20 Plus is the clear winner when it comes to shooting portraits. Be it objects or people, the S20 Plus manages to pull out more details with accurate skin tones even in low ambient light. Subject separation performance is slightly better on the S20 Plus as well. Moreover, it allows you to adjust the subject separation level in post-production editing as well. The OnePlus 8 Pro takes sharper 16 megapixel selfies. On the other hand, the S20 Plus shoots selfies with a better dynamic range. The front camera portrait mode works very well on both the devices. The low light performance is a bit of a mixed bag. The OnePlus 8 Pro takes brighter and sharper pictures with the primary camera, while the S20 Plus delivers better overall stills with the ultra wide angle camera. Moving on to the videos now, the S20 Plus gets the cake when it comes to video resolutions, frame rates and even shooting modes. Both the devices can shoot up to 4K at 60 fps, but the S20 Plus takes it a step further by even shooting in 8K at 24 fps in different aspect ratios along with a built-in professional video mode. Flipping over to the front camera, the S20 Plus can shoot up to 4K at 60 fps, while the OnePlus 8 Pro maxes out at Full HD at 30 FPS. In terms of overall performance, both devices deliver well-exposed videos with rich contrast and colors. Videos shot on the S20 Plus have more accurate colors and higher dynamic range. On the other hand, videos shot on the OnePlus 8 Pro are sharp and well exposed even in low light environments. To conclude, the S20 Plus offers various shooting modes with dozens of features, while the OnePlus 8 Pro offers a snappier and simpler camera user experience. If you're a camera enthusiast looking for a smartphone that delivers excellent overall performance and colors across all the lenses, the S20 Plus seems to be the better choice. On the flip side, if you're looking for a smartphone that delivers sharper and more higher resolution media without breaking a sweat, the OnePlus 8 Pro definitely makes more sense. However, in our repeated exhaustive testing, the general performance of both these cameras is so close, it's way too close, and we are pretty sure that you will be happy with either of the phones. Moving on to the battery life, we have a clear winner here. See, I've used both these phones for an extended period of time because the battery life tends to get better after a few days of setting up. This is because a lot of background operations and optimizations are going on in a phone as it slowly learns your usage patterns. But even after giving both the phones adequate time to settle, the Exynos S20 Plus just could not match up to the OnePlus 8 Pro. On the OnePlus 8 Pro, I was easily making it through a day with 30 to 40% battery to spare, which basically means that a 100% charge would last me around 1.5 days. On the S20 Plus, the battery life is actually pretty average and I usually ended the day with around 10% battery life. I did end one day with 90%, but that's because I ran out of battery in the middle of the day and had to plug it in. So when it comes to endurance, the OnePlus 8 Pro takes the cake. It has been proven that the Exynos processor is not the most efficient, and again, if you have access to the Snapdragon versions of the S20, your results will definitely vary. When it comes to the biometrics, both these phones have an in-display fingerprint sensor but use different technologies. The OnePlus 8 Pro uses an optic sensor compared to the ultrasonic technology used on the Galaxy S20. The OnePlus 8 Pro sensor is definitely faster and more accurate, but a caveat is that you have to turn the screen on first and then use it. The S20 sensor, while slower and slightly less accurate, can be used with the screen off, so you don't have to wake the screen up all the time before using the sensor. To be honest, both these fingerprint sensors are so close in real life that it's too close to call an advantage here, and we'll just leave it at a tie. Now, call quality and signal receptions is where we cannot leave things at a tie. The Galaxy S20 in traditional Samsung fashion provided an excellent calling experience with great earpiece sound quality and excellent signal reception. The OnePlus 8 Pro is also pretty good, but it gave me some trouble when using it with VoLTE, wherein the VoLTE just refused to work randomly and I had to either restart the phone or play with the airplane mode setting to re-enable it. To conclude, I would just like to say that while we did point out a lot of goods and bads in this video, both the OnePlus 8 Pro and the Galaxy S20 Plus are such refined flagships that they are not really bad at anything. It's like one is too good while the other is slightly less good. Both of these phones are capable enough to satisfy every kind of user, and I can confidently say that none of these phones will leave any user disappointed. Unless you're a gamer. Don't get Exynos if you're a gamer. I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, please like, share and subscribe. It takes minimum effort from you, but it really helps the channel out. This is Rohan from TechieTechTech, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.